Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I know, we're already starting.
And I didn't realize I accidentally wore something green today and something booze related. I didn't even mean to do that because I totally forgot it was St. Patrick's Day when I was getting dressed. And
Yeah.
I promise. But I won't get pinched at least. No one's around to pinch me anyway. If you pinch me, I'll hit you.
Boy Walker's down there at one of these pubs dressed up in his damn kilt and shit, eating, drinking. It's fucking funny.
Where's he at? What's that one place that's across from iBar? Lizzie McCormick? Lizzie McGuire? Something like that. I've been in there a couple times. It didn't look like it though, because that place is like super dark. And I think that's just a bar. I don't even know if you can get food in there. Maybe you can. But yeah. Mango says, is it St. Patty's Day? Yeah, it is. It's March 17th. Like I said, I forgot. We don't have any green beer or anything. However, Tom did get a Shamrock Shake the other day.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was like last week.
Yeah, I said, oh man, they got Shamrock Shakes. I said, no, I'm getting that shit. It's too many calories. And then it come time to order us. Give me the same Shamrock. Shit was good, man. I forgot how good those things were. Kind of that mint flavor.
Yeah, it's really weird because you'd think I'd be super into that, but like when I was growing up, I'd be like, I don't know, it seems kind of gross. But then I don't know. When I have a sip of it, it seems really good.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. It's not ice cream. I think it's cute little bits of gelatin or something.
Well, I
think suspended in there.
Well, maybe.
Frozen gelatin, maybe?
Well, they're milkshakes. None of them are ice cream.
Yeah, there's nothing in that.
They're powdered. It's like powdered milk and like you just put it in the machine.
I bet you it's a little tiny because there's some kind of grit in there trying to fool you into it being ice or ice cream. That's not what that is.
It's like fake.
That's not what that is. Yeah, that's like probably pieces of bugs. You know how they take the fucking beetle carapace and make the fucking fake seeds for fucking strawberry seeds. What do they call this shit?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not.
They make a lot of stuff out of those. It won't hurt you. It's just, I mean, it's just gross if you think about it.
Yeah.
But,
bug carapace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you I read a whole book about that that one beetle that they made that red dye out of that was like really popular in the fucking Middle Ages and whatnot.
Yeah.
And how there was like a huge economy in those particular beetles because they made this really bright this really, really nice red dye out of it. The book was called A Perfect Red, but I don't remember who wrote it. But it was like super fascinating. But yeah, like I don't know. It's not like Steak and Shake. They actually make actual shakes with ice cream, but McDonald's never have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're still okay every now and then. Although, if I'm going to have something like that, I'd rather go to Wendy's and get a Frosty, to be honest with you. And dip some French fries in it.
People are still showing up. It's still early. You guys got your drinks? Better. So we saw this thing last night. It was a program on the Mormon Church.
Yeah, Murder Among the Mormons.
Yeah, they got it on Netflix. It was pretty good.
It's
3
new.
episodes.
Yeah, it's like a miniseries.
Yeah.
I knew a little bit about this case, but I didn't know a lot of the details about it. So I kind of knew where it was going, but not exactly. I think during the third one, I think I dozed off a little bit because I was like super, super sleepy. But yeah, so if you don't know, this happened back in the 80s, right? It was like mid 80s. I think it was 1985. And there's this dude named Mark Hoffman, who he's still alive, I think. He's in prison. And he was, well, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but there was kind of a rash. Is 3 bombings a rash? I guess you could call it that. So it was 3 bombings in Salt Lake City. They were mail bombs, yeah? They were like in packages. And these 2 guys got blown up. Well, it was actually this one guy got blown up by a mail bomb. And then a woman got blown up, but they think that the bomb was meant for her husband. And then, like, this dude named Mark Hoffman got blown up, like, with a car bomb, but he didn't die. And then as they go on with the investigation, because they're all Mormons, like I said, because it's Salt Lake City, and they're talking about Mark Hoffman being this big, like, back in the 80s, he was kind of like the go-to guy, like, if you wanted some Mormon artifact, like historical artifacts, like documents and stuff, because I guess there's a big thing in Mormonism where they really, really like to have all of these documents, like that Joseph Smith wrote and like all these original documents from like when the religion was founded.
Because it wasn't that long ago.
Well, I think that's why. I think maybe they're a little insecure about how young the religion is, so they're just always kind of like I think they just like to kind of establish a history or whatever.
Well, they want to prove that it happened.
Yeah.
And then they want to be able to support, the teachings of the church. They want to say, hey, this is all real. We really did talk to he really did talk to the angel Moroni. We got it written right here. It's because he wrote about it. It proves that it happened, which is a religious thinking. A lot of religions do that. Because it's written, it was done.
Well, shit, I can write down all kind of bullshit.
It's just like Christian and Islamic church history. Like, there's Christian church history has Tertullian and all these other fucking early church fathers walking around all over Europe, forming the church and talking to this king and that emperor. And man, one dude didn't do all that shit. They made all that church history up because they were insecure, because Christianity appeared out of nowhere. As far as, you know what I mean, it didn't have a written history, which that really boggles people's minds. And I believe Islam is the same way. I think it was made up out of whole cloth.
Well, yeah. I mean, all religions, and we've kind of talked about this before, they're just kind of like an amalgamation of shit that came before, stories that people told one another, folklore, all that kind of crap. But like the funny thing about this was that Mark Hoffman, he kind of first came to prominence because of that, what they call the White Salamander letter.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about this, it's just like, I mean, spoiler alert, it's a forgery. But had it been real, it really, really made me laugh that the reason that this letter was so massively controversial, like within the Mormon church, was that essentially the letter said that Joseph Smith hadn't been led to the golden plates by the angel Moroni, but rather by a white salamander.
Yeah, which gives a satanic spin to it, doesn't it?
Well, more of like a folk magic or an occult kind of, so that's what they were offended about. But I'm sitting there going, you mean to tell me that even if this letter was real, which it wasn't, you mean to tell me that grown-ass men are arguing over whether a dude got information from a celestial angel or a magic amphibian?
Yeah.
Seriously, you guys are having meetings about that?
Yeah.
You are grown-ass people.
Yeah.
Holy shit. But yeah, so, another thing I learned too from this miniseries that I did not know before that I'm kind of delighted about is that the Mormons have their own, I don't know if they still have it, have their own Mormon specific version of Trivial Pursuit. And it's called Celestial Pursuit.
Yeah.
And the box kind of looks the same and the board kind of looks the same. I guess they had to, I don't know if they had to change it a little bit because I don't know if it's like endorsed by whoever makes Trivial Pursuit. Because I know they have different versions of Trivial Pursuit. Like, that's not that weird, but I don't know if the Mormon one is, like, endorsed by that company. But I was just like, well, it was just, like, an offhand thing that they mentioned, and I'm like, that's so fun. I don't know. That just, like, really made me laugh, and I don't know why that was, like, a big takeaway.
Church of Latter-day Saints is a trip. I mean, it's Christianity Part 2, but even more American.
Electric booklet.
Yeah.
Sure.
And when you look at the motif and the style of all the writings and all the architecture and everything, it's Masonic. It's like something that should be, in Washington, D.C. or, the back of the dollar bill. That's what it looks like. Everything looks like it should be something out of the U.S. government, and it's just because it's
Illuminati shit.
It was, Illuminati. And I think it's because it came from the 1800s, and in the 1800s, that motif was real respected. It was very austere looking, and so, and I think they were kind of envious of Masonic lodges and Masonic temples, and they wanted their shit to look like that.
Well, they want some secret society action going, man.
Yeah. I think they also kind of wanted to be able to kind of write them into Masonic lore. They're saying we're like Masons. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, we're cool like that.
We built the country.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's what it is. We're more powerful than we actually are. That's what they're saying.
Always a good look for like if you start trying to start a new religion.
Yeah, you know what I mean. We're part of the Masons, and we built the pyramids and the American government. That's how they're trying to write themselves in. This is all. What's funny is this is all fanboy shit. Back in the day, people kind of had this in.
Thank you, Zach.
Read what it says.
My birthday's on the 19th. Happy birthday, early birthday. Turns out I share it with Glenn Close, Harvey Weinstein, I guess, and the head of a concentration camp whose name I forget. Yay me. That's some kind of shitty people. Well, Glenn Close is cool, but other than that.
Funny thing about religion is that, it was its own genre. Religious mythology, the religious fucking genre. But today, you see, it's a lot like comic books and other kind of fanboy stuff. They do a lot of shit. They reboot.
Extended universe, reboot.
There's an extended universe. There's all kinds of stuff. It's that same mentality.
There's spin-offs. There's all kind of stuff.
And kind of reboots and rip-offs and people trying to merge one universe into the other universe so your religion looks bigger because you've written it in a way where it's kind of absorbed a sister religion into it, so therefore you can claim authority over that one, which is what the Muslims were doing. They were claiming authority over all of Christianity, doing what they did. They didn't make something brand new. It's an extension.
Well, it's the same mentality of like, let's just like remake a movie that everybody knows. It's like the intellectual property that everyone's going to recognize. You'd be like, well, it's like that, but it's new and improved. See,
right?
That's a much easier sell than here's this thing that you've never heard of before.
They also did a lot of stuff, adopted a lot of stuff from Islam into it, which they thought were improvements. Celestial wives and this and that, and their own courts, and even in the day of Joseph Smith, he was being called the American Muhammad. And he liked that term,
He would.
Because he's trying to create a narrative very much like Muhammad. If there was a Muhammad. Which I doubt. I don't think there was. There's a lot of suspicious stuff in history about Islam. Same thing with Christianity. Christianity appears in the 3rd century pretty much out of nowhere, with the Roman government saying it's their official religion. And then get together compiling all the Christian beliefs. We're going to make a New Testament. So Christianity predates the New Testament by hundreds of years.
Yeah.
An unknown religion, pretty much. It did not take over the empire, by word of mouth and all this, and because the Romans were feeding Christians to the lions, and that's all bullshit. None of that's in history. It's just in Christian mythology. It appears out of nowhere in the 3rd century when Rome adopts it as an official religion of the empire. And it was not real well codified. It was just kind of a general thing. We're Christian, whatever that is. That's how it fucking appears.
Yeah.
Awful, no church history, none of that. All that stuff came hundreds of years later when they're trying to explain how it became a religion, which tells you that there wasn't anything to it.
Yeah, that was a retcon.
Yeah.
That's what they would call that now.
Yeah, retcon. That's what they called it. Yeah, there wasn't anything to it.
Well,
it's not mentioned, and they were very, the early Christians, you know what I mean? You're talking about in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th century, were real kind of fucking insecure about the fact that Josephus made no mention of Christianity, and Josephus he was an ancient Roman historian. He was a Jewish Roman historian, and he wrote a history book called The Antiquities of the Jews, or The History of the Jews. And and he's writing it around the time Jesus would have been around. He'd have been crucified maybe 10 years prior or something. And there's no mention of any of that, and that really caused a lot of sleepless nights.
They had to put some shit in there later.
Yeah, a couple 100 years later, 400 years later, they actually put it in there. That yes.
Well, maybe he just forgot to mention it.
Yeah, he forgot to mention this. This isn't right. He forgot to mention Jesus. Josephus would have said this, and they put a whole fucking paragraph in there, and it's not in the older versions. So they added it.
Yeah, they added that shit later. Mm. But yeah, so the funny thing about this, well, it's not funny because like people died and shit. But so this guy who, as I said, spoiler alert, was like a master forger. I will give him that. I mean, he's a piece of shit. Probably listening to his interviews and like the way he acted and stuff, probably a psychopath. Because he seemed to like give zero shits about anybody. And kind of thought he was better than everybody. Yeah, I just decided that, someone had to die. He just kind of says shit like that.
Yeah.
So he had been forging all this stuff. It's weird because he was making money by I mean, basically, like, he got in with all the other, kind of collectors and, document dealers and whatever. Not just Mormon stuff, but, it was mostly Mormon stuff because they were kind of looking for things. And so he got in with that crowd, and he'd be talking to somebody, and, somebody'd be like, oh man, I really wish that I had, XYZ, like this letter or whatever, or a letter from Joseph Smith's wife or something like that. And then coincidentally, a month or two later, look what I found when I was in this, old bookshop in London. I came across this letter and I remembered that you said something about it. So he did this like so many times that I'm surprised nobody said, are you just making this shit yourself? Because it seems like you're just making the shit yourself, because he was making the shit himself. So the white salamander letter, that was fake. He faked a lot of Mormon shit, and he faked a lot of like Americana shit. Like he faked like some George Washington stuff, Betsy Ross, like letters from that.
He was a master forger.
He was, I will say that he's a piece of shit, but he was really, really good at it.
They said that it was hard to detect his fakes.
Even the FBI, they had the Mormon church, they looked into it. Of course, they're going to say, yes, it's real, but you know what I mean? But they had the FBI look into it. And it was like really, really difficult for them to, kind of pin him out on anything, because it really does seem like, I don't know. I mean, this guy sucks because he killed people, because I think what was happening was that he, I think he thought that he was going to be exposed at some point, because it was this really big deal that he was going through that wasn't anything to do with Mormon stuff, but it was to do with, a piece of paper that was supposedly the first thing that was like printed in the United States, like, in the early days of the United States. And he had made that as well, and he was going to sell it for like $1.5 million or something, but he thought that he was going to get busted. So he blew up his partner, or like one of the other collectors. Like he sent like a letter bomb to him, and it blew the dude up. And then he sent another letter bomb like the same day or the next day to another dude, but his wife opened it and it killed her. It didn't kill the guy. And then this crazy motherfucker, I guess to allay suspicion from himself, blew himself up in his own car. And he was hurt. Like, I think like some of his fingers were blown off and he was all fucked up and everything. Damn. He didn't die. But I'm like, that's crazy shit. That is crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like, so no one suspected, because they just thought he was a victim. So like, oh my God, he blew up too. And it's
he didn't want to go to jail.
I get, well,
that's
too bad. That's where he ended up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when they finally caught him, they actually caught him when they looked through his shit, his house, and they found like a receipt for some kind of printing plates that he had ordered, for, some kind of, he had done like that Mormon money or whatever, like he traded a lot in that kind of stuff. So he had ordered a plate for that somewhere, but he had used a fake name, but I guess, they got him on it somehow. Like they found some other document that had the same fake name on it and blah, blah, blah. It's like, if you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But so they finally like caught him on that. And once they caught him, he pretty much just gave everything up. And he was, if you listen to him, his interviews about it, he's just so fucking cold about it. Like, yeah, I just thought I was going to get in trouble. So I just knew these people had to die. So he just started blowing people up. What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, like I've always been fascinated by like art thieves and art forgers, because it really seems like, it's really like it's not an easy way to make money. I mean, particularly art forgery, because that shit is really, really difficult. You have to get every single thing exactly right, because experts at this point, there's been so many forgeries that they pretty much know what to look for. So the fact that he was making this stuff, I mean, you really have to like go get paper from that time, or you can't have anything that's like anachronistic, like in any way, like the ink or what, or, the language that you use, the type of pen you use, all this other kind of shit. Like they know exactly what to look for. They said that he had even started forging shit when he was like a teenager. He was forging coins. You know what I mean? Like really valuable coins. And I'm like, I mean, he had a calling, I guess. But I don't know. It's a fucked up story, man. But like I said, it's only 3 episodes. But yeah, so I've always been fascinated by art forgers. If you ever look up, maybe I want to do a show about this guy one of these days. There was a dude named Han van Meegeren. It was like early 20th century, early to mid 20th century. And he was a very famous art forger. And I've read a couple books about him, and I just love all the details about how he made things look old. He mostly, I think he did a couple other ones as well, but I think he mostly forged Vermeers. And he actually ended up selling a couple of them to the Nazis. Like the Nazis fell for it because you know how they were always like buying up art and stuff. And he managed to like make quite a bit of money, like going, "Hey, it's a Vermeer that I found in some attic somewhere." And they were like, "Get out of here," and they bought it. He was one of the people that famously he got caught and nobody believed that he had painted the shit, so he painted it in the courtroom. You know what I mean? Although I will say that some of the some of the forgeries that he did, I think he got kind of lazy like toward the end, because some of the ones later, because I've seen like Vermeers like in real life, and they had this really interesting like almost like 3D kind of quality, and a couple of his early ones are like that, but then like Han Van Meeren's like later forgeries just seemed like they were real slapdash and half-assed. I think he got to a point where he's like, you know, people will buy these anyway, so why kill myself like trying to make it super super awesome looking, because it's like no one's really going to question it. Because I think when he was starting out, like he wanted to make sure everything was correct so he would get away with it, but after a while he was like, they're not even checking, so why the hell should I expend all this effort like trying to make it really good. But he's like a fascinating dude, and one of these days, like I said, I've read a couple books about him. It was a while back, but I'd like to do a show about him one of these days, because I don't know, I'm just like really really interested in art forgery, and also in the kind of technical aspects of how you make things look old and shit like that, you know. Yeah.
See, somebody was in there saying that what is Christianity but just a spin-off of Judaism. That's only partially true in a way. The relationship evidently between Judaism and Christianity is awful strange. Okay, well here's a good example. The Roman description of Judaism doesn't resemble anything like modern Judaism at all. I mean, they were using Asherah poles, and what they're describing is something kind of like the Greek pantheon, you know, a father of the gods, and then all his sons and demigods. It was just kind of like started off as like a redneck version of the Greek religion, you know, the gods on Mount Olympus. It was that, but this was like, you know, country people, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, their version of it.
These were the pantheon from the trailer park.
And evidently there was like child sacrifice going on, you know. The people that worship Molech were evidently throwing their little children into the furnaces, you know, into a furnace, and other people were sacrificing the firstborn and all that. Evidently they found a bunch of clay pots with little babies that had been sacrificed. And that's not modern Judaism, but that's
well, obviously.
Yeah. So then you had the Septuagint, which was kind of like the Greek version of the Old Testament, and that's about the same age as the New Testament, the one that's tacked onto the Bible, and that seems to be been what the Jews used. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the religion that they had was the same, though. Modern Judaism seems to be medieval, from the medieval period. So it's not that old. But modern Christianity is about from the medieval period, too. So by rights, in some ways, you could say that Judaism and Christianity are about the same age, because they've been rebooted over and over again.
Well, I feel like they're still getting rebooted.
Yeah.
It's not well, that's the thing about human history. You never get to a point where like, well, we're done.
Yeah,
it's like we figured that just doesn't that doesn't happen. Shit like keeps changing all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's still, you know, religions are still evolving nowadays.
Yeah, I think they were influencing each other kind of side by side for, you know, centuries.
Yeah, that actually does make sense. I mean, you know, like I said, we've had you know, Dr. Price on the show a couple of times, and he's always like really interesting to listen to, because I'm always, like I said, I'm just like fascinated by the history of religion and like mythology, and where all the ideas for the shit come from, like where all the stories came from, why they were codified in a particular way. you know, it's just all that's like really, really interesting to me.
Now, if I remember correctly, it was somewhere in the Pauline epistles. I mean, it's misquoting Jewish scripture, evidently misquoting it on purpose to try to make Jesus a little bit more Jewish. You know what I'm talking about? To make it look like he was foretold, you know what I mean, in Jewish scriptures, you know what I mean, having to do with, what do you call them, messiahs and everything. But it's an obvious misquote of it. You know, Jewish scholars can go in there and go, no, that's not what the original scripture actually said. They're misquoting it. Well, you have to pre-exist in order to misquote. So Christianity is playing off of Judaism. It's a sect of Judaism, if you ask me.
Yeah.
In the same way that, Mormonism is a sect of Christianity. It's the same religion. It's just a part two, It's a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just always been... one of these days we're going to do a show about the Mormons in general, because like I said, the show that they had on Netflix, it's not about Mormonism as a whole. It was just about this one particular incident and about this one particular guy. And it goes a little bit, it doesn't go a lot into what they actually believe or anything like that. It's mostly just about this one guy and his forgeries. And they only go as much into their beliefs as needed to say why this particular document would have been important and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's like all this kind of stuff, Seth is saying, I just find all religion cuckoo. It is.
It made a lot more sense back in those days.
Yeah, a lot of the context has been lost, yeah. I think. Because that's one thing.
There were clubs to go along with it.
Yeah.
Nightclubs, basically. You went to worship, you got high.
Like I said, what else?
Drank and danced, you know what I mean? And they would put on a big show. It was a nightclub scene, really. That's what you would recognize it as. Because
here's what I found really interesting about, like, for example, the White Salamander letter. Even though it was a fake, there had to be some reason why he faked it to say that particular thing. Like, why...
So you wanted to spice it up.
Well, I know, but why a white salamander specifically? Was that something that had to do with the time period? Like, I know that it's...
He was kind of mad. I remember, they didn't mention it in that program, but I remember in another program it was mentioned that he used to like to fucking riff on the Mormons a lot. And
yeah.
He wanted the Mormons to suspect that their religion had more of a cult beginnings. That it was more of an occult.
Yeah, I got that, but I didn't really understand why necessarily a white salamander in particular would get that across in the way that like a toad or something like that.
Something that a witch would be interested in.
That's what I'm saying, but I was saying more like a toad or like a black cat or something. Right. That's what I would think. White salamander, I didn't realize that was like necessarily a specific occult symbol. Or
wanted to be original,
or like a familiar in the sense that a black cat or a toad or something like that is more understood.
Well,
to be like a witch's
they might reject a black cat or reject a toad.
Because that'd be like too obvious.
Oh, that's too obvious, right? Yeah. But the white salamander is a little more ambiguous. You know what I mean? They might accept that, which they did. They went, "Oh yeah, that may be true." He had a good gig. He knew that he knew that the Mormons would pretty much accept anything. He also knew that they were suspicious of their own religion.
Even if they wouldn't admit it.
They wouldn't admit it, but they were suspicious of it, yeah.
That's still...
didn't want... The reason why they bought the White Salamander letter is they wanted to hide it. Yeah. They didn't want people to know that it was a white salamander.
No, it was an angel. Shut up.
Yeah. They were going to hide it. They were going to bury that.
Yeah. Well...
A lot of the stuff that they bought was stuff that they were planning on burying. It was stuff that was uncomfortable. So buying it would get it out of circulation.
Yeah, even though later, like, the president of the Mormon Church came out and said, we totally didn't even offer to buy that. He said that he was going to, give it to our museum. And we totally were not going to suppress it or anything by any stretch of the imagination. No, of course not.
I couldn't believe those dudes.
Oracle says, Jenny, want a true crime book about the case? Yeah, I would actually love that, to be honest with you. That sounds really fascinating. Stop Prop says, having grown up in Palmyra, I don't know how to pronounce that, New York, Mormons are no less insane than Scientologists. Joseph Smith started his madness there. Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think they were a lot alike.
They are. There's a lot of
alike.
there's a lot of similarities.
I'm sure LRH looked at Mormonism to see how it started, because he wanted to start a religion, so he would have studied how they were started.
Well, yeah, if he was smart.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You study other successful religions and
see what they did.
Try to figure out what it was that they did that made them so successful. I mean, you know, it's hard to do. I guess it's kind of hard to do one, you know, on purpose, because there has to be, you know, there's a lot of factors that I guess you can't control, because people start cults all the time, and like, you know, most of them don't catch on, obviously.
The whole thing about Joseph Smith, the fucking the magic glasses and the tablets and talking to the fucking angels
and the magic panties.
And the magic panties. No, he had a magic
underwear.
garment. Yeah. And he's doing this from behind a fucking silk shroud and fucking dictating what the celestial fucking forces are telling him. That's the exact same thing LRH did. He just called himself the source. The same thing.
I mean, I love that Joseph Smith comes out with a story like, hey guys, this angel came to me in the woods and told me that I could find these gold plates. And I wrote down what they said on them, but nobody can see them. And everyone was just like, oh, okay, I suppose so.
Yeah.
You couldn't get away with that shit nowadays. Let me see the plates, motherfucker. Let's see them, cough them up.
You could get away with it today. Don't ever believe that you couldn't get away with it today. Just... You could
yeah, it's probably
look at what they, you know, look at what L. Ron Hubbard did, and yeah, you can get people to believe just all kinds of crazy shit.
You just got to go about it in the right way.
You have to select the right kind of person, and they have to be groomed the right way, and you can get people to believe anything.
I think Scientology, because we've talked about this before, I think Scientology was so successful because it sort of eased you in, you know, like the frog in boiling water.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, when you first start, it just sounds like some self-help shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this actually is helping. It's helping me communicate better, because there's nothing that weird.
It's, you know, religion is kind of like, and it's indoctrination, it's mind control, basically, you know, and it's done like any other form of propaganda. You just study how propaganda works. And that's how religion works. Same way. You can get anybody to believe anything.
Pretty much, if you're determined.
Yep, because all you have to tell them is that, well, this is for the betterment of mankind, and this makes everybody better, and fucking, you know, this is the right thing to do, and you'll do it.
Well, and the thing, too, is that a lot of stuff about religions is stuff that can't be proven either way, you know, because like the whole Christianity thing, oh, you get to heaven after you die. Well, no one can prove that, obviously, because no one has come back and like reported on it. So you can get away with a lot of shit like that because no one's going to call you on your line.
There's whole books written on propaganda and how to, you know, mass mind control, you know, and just if you control the narrative and you control all the media outlets, you can spin in any narrative you want. And I'm not just bagging on the United States. The United States does it, but so do all the other countries. You can go to Iran, and if you watch their television, their take on reality is totally different than ours. China's take on the outside world is totally different than ours. You know, people believe what they're told in general. You know, there's always a certain amount of people that just don't believe what they're told, and a certain amount of people that are just. I was just kind of genetically predisposed to say no. I just say no to shit. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get me to believe it or try to get me to do it, my natural tendency will be to say no. I'm just resistant that way.
Well, yeah, I don't really like it either. And especially if somebody's like trying to tell me a tale if he wants something from me. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, no.
So there's a reason why they're telling you this. Who is it benefiting? And does it benefit me? And they're going to say, no, it benefits the world. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. What it really when they tell you that it's benefiting their bottom line for that quarter. That's all it is. They're trying to make some kind of bonus. They're doing the same thing Scientology does.
Well, yeah.
They're just trying to get a new recruit. Cha-ching, cha-ching. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. I mean, you know, like I said, I'm sure like a lot of people actually do genuinely believe it. You know, I'm not shitting on those people, but the kind of
best lies are a pious lie. The person who's lying to you actually believes these lies. They don't know it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's called a pious lie. And a lot of religions involves pious lying. They're lying, but well, they either don't know that they're lying because they have religious beliefs, or they're lying to you, telling you a little white lie to try to fucking save your soul.
Yeah, because they think it's for the greater good.
For the greater good. There's
Sure.
a couple different ways that, and this extends to everything, including business. You know, the sales campaign is nothing but just a propaganda campaign lying to you about how this product's
Well,
going
it's
to help
just a
you.
sales pitch, just
Yeah.
like anything else.
Yeah.
And I mean, anyone that's in sales or marketing or
Yep.
anything like that, it's just kind of the way. What they always tell you to do is just you have to explain to people how your product, your widget, whatever, makes their lives better, makes them cooler, or makes things easier for them, or something like that. You have to, you have to give people some kind of value. And I think the same thing applies to religions. You have to appeal to people's, sense of, what is this going to do for you necessarily? Well, like I said, I think that's why Christianity shit like that was real successful, because they'd be like, well, your life's shitty now. Especially in the Middle Ages, this would have worked, because like a lot of people's lives were horribly shitty and really short and diseased and whatnot. And they're just like, yeah, it's shitty now, but that just means that you'll have this way better life, like after you die. It's like I said, you can't prove
that.
that's
And then
true or false.
And how do you prove that one religion has a monopoly over getting you into heaven versus another one? Because they're all claiming that they're going to get you into heaven. There's no way to prove any of that.
Well, see, and that's why, I think that's why I just became an atheist when I was a kid, because I was just like, yeah, but what if you pick the wrong one?
They're saying it's they're saying it's fake. Well, here's the thing, I'm not big into these religions and everything, but I believe that there's an afterlife. Now, is there a God? There might be something like a God, but let's go ahead and analyze based upon what these scriptures are saying what God is. They're saying he walks around in a garden, okay? That he creates people, and that he talks. That you can't look at him, it'll kill you. That he has a breath and a voice. They're saying he's a big man. So what they're talking about, they're talking about Zeus.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're talking
That's
about.
what I always
A
pictured.
giant man.
Big Zeus man.
Right. That's what they're talking about.
Walking around breathing on people.
Yeah.
And glowing at people.
So it's not...
sorry. Killed you.
Yeah. No, you looked at me and you died.
Do you have to wear the special sunglasses?
Yeah.
Like when you look at an eclipse, I guess.
And then there's
the God sunglasses.
Angels of the Lord can appear like burning bushes. And an angel of the Lord is like an avatar of the Lord. Because you can't look at him. So it's an image of God. Not actual God. So there's a bunch of stuff that, but that's the genre.
Yeah.
That's the genre of this type of literature. But the literature is describing a giant man.
Boring.
Yeah.
I mean,
hands and feet and his face and his eyes. And
see, this is why when I was a kid, I was just I wasn't raised real religious, but it's like, to me, the Bible stories seemed either real fucked up, like the Abraham and Isaac thing. I was like, "Ooh, that's fucked up." But
well, that made a lot of sense, though.
Well, I know, but
they were sacrificing kids.
But as a kid, I thought that was really fucked up, and then also seemed kind of boring, because I was like really into like Greek mythology, man. I'm like, they got like big monsters and like fucking women with snakes for hair and shit. That's way more rad.
Well, that's in there. Tiamat.
Sort of.
The dragon is mentioned. There's just Tiamat. Being thrown Tiamat's thrown into the lake of fire. Leviathan, which is another thing that was kind of like Tiamat. Some people are saying, well, it's a whale. Nah, Leviathan was a god. It was a sea monster. It's a sea dragon.
Yeah.
Sea dragon, yeah. But no, they're not talking about a universal Star Wars type god, you know what I mean? That's invisible and everywhere at once and doing that's not really what they're talking about. Now, by the time you get into the New Testament, it's kind of turned into something like that, but by this time, Judaism is becoming very, very Roman. See, the Romans copied all these religions because Rome was a place of immigration.
Well, it's easier to making your own up from scratch. I mean,
well, that's not what was happening.
I know. I'm just making a joke.
What was happening is that people from the Middle East were moving into the Roman Empire and bringing their religions with them. You had people who were people who believed in the Egyptian religion. They came in. They get that rebooted into the cult of Isis. You have people from Persia move in, and they brought Mithraism with them, and they rebooted that into the cult of Mithras. Then you had Jews moving in, and they rebooted that into Christianity. It's just a Christianity is a Roman copy, a Roman reboot of Judaism, and it's because if you actually look at those foreign religions, what they were like, they would have been unacceptable in Roman society. So they move into Rome, and within a few generations, the people who inherited those religions made them more Roman so they could fit in. You know, you weren't going to be sacrificing kids or, you know, some of them got banned.
Yeah, let's not do that.
They weren't going to do that in Rome. It was against the law. So it was just a Roman reboot. You could see something like that happen in the United States. What would happen if, you know, you were from a Muslim family and you, but over a few generations, you married into the local population and you were you had an Islamic heritage, but you were as an American as fucking apple pie. Well, you're going to have like an American version of Islam. You know, that could evolve because Christianity was doing that. In the South, all those Southern Baptist churches were American versions of Christianity. And so is Mormonism. It's just an American version of Christianity.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of want something that is going to fit in with your lifestyle. You know, if you're not in the mother country anymore. Right. You know, and you're living a whole different life now.
Well, in Mormonism, America is put center stage in the story. And not only America, but like in prehistoric America. They talk about that a lot in Mormonism. Like, there were people here in the New World, you know, fighting for Palestine and stuff. Which is, you know, they were down here fighting the, what do you call them? What was that thing that they were...
I don't know.
They were fighting the Canaanites and shit. Oh, okay. Here, you know, on the Great Plains, which doesn't make sense to me. But fighting Canaanites and shit.
Whatever, just, you know, let them play.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a funny story.
This is like, they're talking about Old Testament shit, but it's happening in America. You know.
I just remembered like another little tidbit from that miniseries on Netflix where they were talking about the Forger dude's dad, and they had, oh my god, his parents were so weird. Like, they had some video of them from, I don't know when, I guess it was like the early 80s or whatever, but it was just, I don't know, it was something like really, really creepy about them. And I guess the dad was really, really strict Mormon, and I guess I didn't know that there was a lot of, I mean, I figured there was probably some crossover with Mormons with creationism, but I guess that the dad was real creationist, like so much so that he saw like a kid's book with dinosaurs in it, and he was like, you know, heathens, you believe in evolution. So I don't know if they like believe that dinosaurs aren't real, or I guess they believe that dinosaurs aren't real. I mean, I thought even creationists, even your young earth creationists who believe the earth is only 6,000 years old, for fuck's sake, I think they even cram the dinosaurs in there somewhere. Although I think that some of them think that all the dinosaur fossils were put there by God to fool everybody. Like your real hardcore creationists, the young earth creationists. Some young earth creationists fit the dinosaurs in there, but they only died out like a few thousand years ago, and like humans rode around on them and whatnot.
Yeah, dinosaurs were all vegetarian. Tyrannosaurus Rex, it was a vegetarian. It had those sharp teeth, but fruit bats have sharp teeth too, and they're vegetarians. So yeah, that's QED. That's the thing.
I used to be really fascinated by creationists. So I read like a bunch of books about, I mean, you don't hear as much about them anymore. I guess they're mostly staying out of trouble. I'm sure that there's, you know, still a lot of creationists out there, but I don't know. There's just something really fascinating to me about somebody that wants to believe something so badly. Now, they do have old earth creationists that are willing to concede that the earth is the actual age that it is because, you know, obviously, but you still got those young Earth
I
ones,
don't
man,
know.
and it's like every single that's almost as bad as flat earthers.
I don't understand the need for things to be literally true in these scriptures.
I don't really get that either.
Because to me, they were always just stories.
Yeah.
And they were stories to learn from and to teach some kind of an example, or to teach some kind of a moral, or to have some kind of a background to some other later. They were more like cultural. It's like a cultural histories. That's what they were like. You know what I mean?
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not. We're not denigrating them. You know, stories. Humans are storytelling animals. That's what we do. That's how we impart information.
Yeah, that's the genre of that kind of literature.
Yeah.
They're like, they're like pseudo histories, but they were never intended to be historical. Never. I mean, right there in Genesis, no dates are mentioned. If it was intended to be historical, they would have written the date. Yeah. They had dates during the time that they were writing all that down.
This is the date that Jesus rode the dinosaur.
Right. They would have been all kinds of dates.
Into Bethlehem.
They would have given you the date, the date on which, Noah's ark, fucking rested on the fucking mountain after the flood. They would have given you all these dates. Yeah. If it was intended to be historical. Even if they made the dates up, it was never intended to be historical. Ever. They're just stories. Yeah. They're stories to explain the past or to explain something that you believe in today. I think it had a lot to do with it. Yeah. You're in a certain culture that believes certain things, so now you got to tell a story to explain why you believe this. And that's what they're doing. And it's kind of a quaint way. These are the stories that you tell around a campfire. Exactly. You're out there in the desert with the Bedouin, which I've done that. Hanging out with the Bedouin, fucking smoking shisha, which is their little fucking thing. And they got the camels and the horses and shit. And they like to party. Yeah, they do.
Don't we all?
They like to party. Yeah. Like to party, tell stories, and fucking compare stories and shit. And that's where these stories are coming from. They're like a campfire story.
Yeah, and like I said, just trying to make it, like trying to squeeze it into something that's like, this is literally true. You're just ruining it.
You're ruining the story when you do that.
You're ruining the story. It's not supposed to be a real, it's just supposed to be a good story.
Right.
Yeah. And like I said, it's either supposed to impart information or like some kind of moral or something like that, because that's like an easy way for people to remember it.
They're also definitely entertainment. They're definitely entertainment. So they're movies. You're watching a damn movie.
Yeah, they didn't have movies way back then, so it's like you just kind of like, you're walking through the desert or whatever, and it's like you're all around the camp, and everybody's like coming up with really good stories about shit.
And then they're telling stories about legendary heroes, Samson, And when you look, Samson is kind of like a redneck version of fucking Hercules. Samson and Hercules are probably the same person. Strong dude who's the son of God, kind of a deal. God's got his back. So who else is a big strong dude? Hercules, Samson. Who else?
They got
Goliath.
Yeah. I guess you could say like Beowulf.
No, and I'm talking about from that era.
Oh, from that era. Beowulf was earlier.
Yeah, it was much later. So, what they're talking about there is probably Nephilim, giant men of great renown and giants in the earth. The Greeks are saying this, and the Middle Easterners are saying this. That gods have children. Those fuckers are huge. And they're real strong. Yeah, that's just a good story. Cool story, bro. That's
what I mean, and it just seems like people are just making up stories, just like people make up stories nowadays. Nowadays, we make movies or you write books or whatever. They didn't really do that back then. It was just like an oral tradition, but it's no different.
It's a Marvel superhero.
Yeah, it's Samson, actually no difference at all. I don't see any difference.
Samson, Hercules, all these guys, it's like something out of Marvel universe.
Yeah, and I don't know why more people don't. And I'm not like trying to be offensive or anything like that. Like
Superman, definitely. That's straight out of the Bible.
Oh yeah, big time.
Straight out of the Bible.
That is
God's son descended to earth.
Yeah, it's just he happens to be an alien.
Yeah,
but he's from
Jewish.
Yeah, but he's from like, the heavens. Yeah,
that's Jesus. Exactly what they're talking about.
He's space Jesus.
Yeah. Well, Jesus was from space. Heavens means fucking where the stars are.
Yeah,
That's space.
Yeah, just that black piece of paper that's over the earth with all the holes punched in it.
In the foundation of the sky, in the fundament of the sky. It says that fucking the stars actually fall from the sky and land on the ground. And people are like, look at these things. Ooh. Damn, imagine that. Imagine that.
They're this big.
Imagine that. Yeah, they're like that big.
It's like a marble.
They're like, yeah. There's a whole fucking economy of fucking buying and selling and trading the stars that fell from the sky. Imagine
Man,
that.
just like, well,
how much is a star worth? I mean, there have been dudes fucking probably like, speculating on it. How much would a star actually be worth? Well, I'd probably pay about 10,000 denarum. Oh, yeah, you would.
This whole economy of like fucking.
Yeah.
Well, it was just kind of like, hey, was anybody selling those the same like during the Middle Ages when they were selling all those like pieces of the true cross and Jesus foreskins and whatnot?
Yeah, Maniac mentioned Goliath was the other one.
Yeah.
And
did you say that? Yeah.
He's asking if no, I said Samson.
Okay, there.
Samson and Hercules but Samson and Goliath. Yeah, I mentioned Goliath.
Yeah, I thought
Goliath was the one that David killed. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of in that story. It's hinted at that Goliath was a Nephilim. But Samson must have been a Nephilim too. Really, what they're doing, though, is based upon what Dr. Price said, all these side characters from the Old Testament, they're actually talking about other Canaanite gods. Things that Canaanites believed in before Judaism. The Canaanites were just other Jews. That's another thing. There's a lot of misunderstanding, you know what I mean? That, the early, the Israelites, fucking, they got chosen by Yahweh. Yahweh chose Israel and told them not to worship any of those other gods.
You're my team, bitches.
Right. And then go out and go fucking fight the Canaanites and shit. They were all Canaanites. The Israelites were Canaanites. They were all in the land of Canaan at that time, evidently. Or they were calling it Canaan. So it'd be the same thing as, one Christian denomination fighting other Christian denominations, which they did.
It's a battle to the death.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, that's kind of... why do you think there are so many differing sects of all these different religions? Just because one person gets a hair across the crack of their ass about some tiny little detail in scripture, and it's like, well, shit, man, this is so important that we need to go off and start a whole other thing.
But here's the funny thing about Genesis and Exodus and all these early parts of the fucking Old Testament, where you have all these different Canaanites and all these different Canaanite gods, and how Israel rose to the most prominent sect and it taking over. All that was bullshit. That's all pseudo-history. There was no war between these Canaanites. They just assumed there was. There's no evidence for any of that. All right. What happened is that over time, Judaism condensed into one sect, or one version of Judaism over time. They didn't kill each other.
Yeah, but that's a lot more exciting.
It's a lot more exciting.
So you can see why that got written.
Right. But they're writing about this. They're writing about this fucking centuries, maybe 500, 600, 700 years after all that happened.
A long time.
So they're just trying to write a pseudo history to explain how Israel became. That's all it is.
When you think about it, it would be like us writing about something that happened in the 1500s.
Yeah.
As though we were there, you know what I mean?
As if you were there, right. And that gets me to Islam. Islam has some damn real shaky explanations, you know what I mean, where you had Muhammad and a bunch of damn desert warriors going out and flipping everybody and conquering all this Christian land to make a big Islamic kingdom. There's no history, there's no proof of that. I don't think the Christian empires of the time would have fucking tolerated that. If anything, what you're talking about, they called it the the Muslims themselves call it the what do they call it? The Islamic conquest. Well, that Islamic conquest is only in Islamic history. Nobody else has that. From the Western point of view, Islam appears out of nowhere, fully formed. So
Well, everybody wants to make themselves seem cooler. I mean,
just appeared out of nowhere, fully formed.
Everybody wants to make themselves seem more powerful or more popular or whatever.
What a lot of guys who really looked at it and tried to figure out the archaeology behind it, looking at coins and old buildings, is that Christian kingdoms converted to Islam. It was a more Arabic version. It was Arab-centric version of Christianity. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because in Christianity, really, you know what I mean, you'd have been more loyal to Rome, where the Vatican was. So they were going, no, we're not going to do that. This is the more nationalistic version of it. No. We're loyal to Mecca, which is a local place here. And they kind of reinterpreted it. And there doesn't seem to be a Muhammad. It's first mentioned. When he's first mentioned, he's already long gone. So you have it's a situation kind of like the English and King Arthur. They're talking about a warrior king that used to exist. That's what they're talking about. So I don't think there ever was one. It was just a memory of one. You know what I'm talking about?
And the thing about it, it's just kind of like...
It's better to have him in the past.
Yeah. It's just kind of like the whole Jesus thing. It's not...
Yeah.
It's not like a person like that, like sort of like that, didn't exist at one point, but the
memory of
the myth of it, the legend of it.
Yeah.
There was never a person like that existed. We're not saying that like King Arthur wasn't based on a real guy or a real...
There was 50 dudes
or a
like
bunch
that,
of
maybe.
or a bunch of dudes
Right.
and they just kind of like stuck it all together, because over the years, shit gets confused.
Right.
Just like one like real popular king or whatever, and like this other one, and like you'll start amalgamating them together into like one mythological figure.
Right.
And I think that's what happens a lot in these situations.
Yeah, and this is in terms of when you talk about Islam, you're talking about what, 7th century. It probably started off about 50 years of fighting, and they were kind of like rebel Christians. And then once they take a bunch of land, they kind of rewrite Christianity and say that, yeah, the land was taken by a warrior king that used to lead us. His name was Muhammad, and this is what he was like. And they tell the whole story.
Yeah, it was just like anything else. It's
Right.
much easier to, all these great feats of whatever. It's easier to like just attribute them to one person.
Because it was definitely whoever wrote the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sunnahs and all that stuff. That stuff was all written in peacetime by scholars. So it wasn't written during Islamic expansion. Much later. So shit, you could write anything at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're talking about something that happened 100 years ago.
Yeah, and shit.
So you rewrite history.
I can't even remember what happened 5 years ago, much less 100
Yeah,
years
and in this era, you know what I mean? It's like, and most people are illiterate. So they just believe what you tell them. You know, they can't check.
That's true.
And there weren't many books anyway. So,
well, books were really, really expensive. Right. And like I said, most people couldn't read them.
Yeah. So
they were just kind of dependent on people to kind of tell them the stories.
I think it was back sometime in the mid 1900s, maybe. Some German scholars went to Mecca and asked to see. They were in good with those guys. Those priests that worked down there in Mecca. They asked to see the oldest Quran, and they saw it and took pictures of it. Took it back to Germany. They didn't recognize the language. It wasn't Islam. They said it read a little bit more like mutated Christianity.
Yeah.
And they asked to see the book again. They wouldn't show it to them again, but they have photographs of it. So Islam didn't come from Islam. Whatever it is now, it's totally rebooted, which means it's exactly the same as all the other religions. It's not special.
Well, yeah,
it's a product of its culture.
Yeah, just like everything else is. I mean, that's just how shit works. Like I said, it's not being offensive or denigrating people's beliefs or anything like that. We're just saying that that's where
Well,
that's how that shit comes about. It's that's how every religion's come about.
Muslims have the idea of kind of like the way I used to think about the Bible as a kid. That it came down from heaven, it was delivered.
Woo.
On a beam of light.
It was like Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
but celestial.
Yeah, nothing further from the truth could be.
Here's this book. You guys figure it out.
More like compiled by a bunch of committees over time that disagree with each other. That's really what the New
It's like,
Testament is
put
all
that
about.
out. No, take that
Take
out.
that one out, and then none of them are the same.
We can't have that in there.
So Islam was kind of, I think, you know, it was supposedly dictated to the Prophet Muhammad by the angel Gabriel. Or was it Michael or Gabriel? I think it might have been Jibril, because of Gabriel. That's what they call it. So it's damn near straight from heaven in their mythos. But not according to the photographs. And books that complicated and that long, and it's a trilogy, stuff like that doesn't fall from heaven. That's worked on over generations and generations of scholars.
Which is pretty, I mean,
which
even
is
if,
how they were all made.
well, yeah, I mean, I think I read the Bible when I was a teenager, probably. And, you know, just reading it from an objective point of view, it really just does seem like a cobbled together collection of stories. There's no, you know, it's obviously not really one style. It's not really one, there's stories in there that contradict one another. It's, you know, it was compiled over a really long period of time, and it just seems really obvious that that's what it is. But I just realized that we didn't have our fucking party laser on. We forgot to turn the party laser on.
Maybe that's why the stream hasn't collapsed.
Maybe we have so much
data.
So much fucking. Although I will say that sometimes we don't usually put the party laser on except on the longer shows, and sometimes the shorter ones crash anyway. Although not as often. I don't know. I don't really want to say it. It's almost like now you said something. Now it's gonna jinx it. Stop Prop says the worst are the Jehovah's Witnesses, hands down. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like the first experience I had with Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know if I ever mentioned this before, but when I was in 6th grade, there was a little boy in my class. His name was Richard, and his parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and he was like the nicest kid. But every time we celebrated a holiday, or every time, you know, somebody brought cupcakes in for their birthday or whatever, that poor little kid had to go sit in the fucking teacher's lounge all by himself, because they're not allowed to celebrate holidays because they hate fun and joy.
There's a guy, this guy I listen to, his name is Hard Bastard. He's fucking funny. He's on BitChute, and he just picks certain like news articles that come off of CNN or something. He'll just pick it apart and then show where they're kind of lying or telling. Anyway, he's an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and he'll do whole shows on Jehovah's Witness, what it was like growing up in there. And basically, he says the problem with Jehovah's Witness is just how low testosterone it is. Just real low T. The leaders they're just real old people in their 80s and their 90s. They can't come to a decision on anything, and everything just moves at a snail pace. And basically, the only thing that they can do is just like ban you. Like, oh, that's it. You're banished. You're banished.
Get out.
You're banished. And then you can't talk to that person anymore.
Yeah, well, it's like disconnection, just like Scientology.
Yeah. So that's really the only thing they do.
Like, no one's allowed to talk to you.
Yeah. It's just disconnect. That's all they do. But he just said it was fucking kind of hilarious that he grew up in that, believing what he was told. You know, it's very apocalyptic.
It is,
They think the end of the world's coming at any moment. And they believe
any moment now.
But he said he liked that part. He said he loved that part. Because it was real entertaining, real lurid about what was going to happen at the end of the world.
I think largely that's why people really like it. It's like reading.
It's like watching The Exorcist over and over again.
Yeah, or it's like, reading like some zombie fiction or some shit. Like, yeah, I think that there's like something kind of appealing about just watching the whole world burn.
Yeah, he said he loved that part of it.
Like, and it's kind of like, and it's safe because it's fictional.
Yeah.
So I feel like people like to imagine it, even though it's fucked up and it would probably not be fun. And
all they did was just like, prepare for the end of the world. And that was he said it was kind of exciting. You felt like at any moment the end of the world was coming, and you were ready for that bitch. So
I would
like
wonder
that.
if it made you like appreciate your life more than you would otherwise because you just thought it was going to end at any minute, or would it just kind of make you go fuck it, nothing matters?
No,
I guess it would depend on the person.
No, they were constantly like preparing for it. You know what I mean?
Well, at least it gave him a purpose, kept him out of trouble.
Yeah, making spiritual preparations, and they'd fucking fantasize about where they were going to go and what was going to happen when all the souls go up, and just everything. What it would actually look like, and what are they going to say on the news when it happens. So they were just it was like something out of the Omen. So he said that was the best part of that religion.
I could see that.
But he said other than that, it was just kind of real culty, and you had to go to all these fucking meetings all the time, and nothing would really happen.
And you have to go to people's doors, and like they get all abusive with you and stuff.
No, they're not abusive at all. They're real soft-spoken.
No. I mean, when you go to people's houses.
Oh.
And most people slam the door in your face.
He didn't really talk about
Terry keeps saying, lights, 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 put the lights on.
He's trying to get this shit to collapse, huh? But it was just like, he just said it was kind of, boring. You had to go.
It sounded boring.
You have to go to all these little meetings and nothing happens at them.
And like I said, you don't get to celebrate any holidays. You don't get to celebrate your birthday. You don't get to celebrate any holidays. Nothing. Why? Yeah. I don't understand why. What's the reasoning behind that? Because I feel like
they said they didn't miss that. I saw the programs. Said that they don't even really miss that. They don't care about that at all.
That's a
because they didn't grow up that way.
I guess
they didn't grow up like that, so they didn't even really think about that.
Huh.
They said that when they got out of the cult, the whole idea of celebrating all this stuff, so they never really got into it, even afterwards. Because you have to be brought up with that to get to have a nostalgia for it.
Yeah, because you're like, woo, Christmas,
yeah, so
woo,
there's no nostalgia
Halloween.
for any of that. So they don't even really miss it.
Still though.
It wasn't brought up in them.
I guess. I don't know. It must be really weird. I guess it's not weird for them because they don't know any different. But like I said, it's just kind of like reading and if you guys haven't read, what's her name? David Miscavige's niece that wrote that book about growing up in Scientology. It was called Beyond Belief, I think it was called. I have it somewhere. But it's just strange how no matter how weird you're like brought up, I guess it's just like fucking normal to you.
Yeah.
I mean, she was brought up to just be like a child laborer.
Well, they have, Jehovah's Witnesses, they kind of like have meetings with Scientologists. And according to Jehovah's Witnesses, the Scientologists are weird. They think Scientology is a lot weirder than them. And
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Nah, Scientologists are much weirder.
It is pretty weird.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, my drink's almost empty too.
Well, polish it off.
Well, no, I can't chug that much. Just, just refill it. I don't know. I guess Jehovah's Witness isn't as weird as Scientology because I don't think they don't have aliens, do they? I mean, Scientology has aliens or whatever. Are they? They're not really aliens. Galactic overlords and dudes like demon things and volcanoes and what. I guess that's weirder. I don't know. They're all pretty weird to me, so it's kind of hard to say. I don't know, but it's just I just felt bad. I felt really bad for this poor kid. I still remember, like I said, it was 6th grade and he always had to go sit in the other room. And I guess back in the old days, like back in the 80s, yeah, I guess this would have been 80s. When it was Valentine's Day, everybody would make you'd make like a little mailbox and you put it on the front of your desk, and then you had to bring in Valentines for all of your classmates, and you had to have one for everybody because they didn't want, the little ugly kid like not getting it or whatever, because that would be terrible. So you had to like buy one of those boxes with all the Valentines in it, and I was very diligent, and I did all of them for every single person in the class, and I made one for him too. And then when we got there, like a lot of kids had made one for him too. And, the teacher was like, no, he can't have any because, his religion says that he can't celebrate any holidays. And everybody in the class was just like, what? That's fucking bullshit, man. It said he can't even eat a cupcake. So this is what I kind of wanted to ask, like later on when I lived in Clearwater and I worked at that Scientology place, it was really weird because there were 4 graphic designers, 3 of us, the 3 girls, we were all like agnostic or atheist. There was one guy in there and he was a Jehovah's Witness. So that was why the Scientologists didn't bother him, because he already had, they were more interested in getting people that like didn't already have a religion that they could kind of, or they were kind of interested in like telling you, like, well, you can be that religion too, but then you could just like do Scientology shit like on the side. But he was a Jehovah's Witness, so they kind of left him alone. And I always wanted to ask him, but I didn't. He was really nice, but I didn't want to ask him this question because I didn't know if he'd get offended. So I'm like, okay, now I was like, what if, just for sake of discussion, what if it's a holiday and I bring in a box of donuts that are, or cupcakes that have like, that have like a little decoration sticking out. Like say it's Easter and I bring one that has like a little fucking bunny rabbit sticking out of the top, right? There's a little plastic one. I was like, okay, so you can't eat that because it's an Easter cupcake and it's a holiday and blah, blah, blah. I said, now what if I just brought in cupcakes and it was Easter, but I said that they weren't for Easter and I took the bunny out of it? Could you eat it then? Is it a technicality? Was there a loophole? Can you have the cupcake if I say that it's not in celebration of anything, if it's just a cupcake? That's what I'd like to know. So if anybody's a Jehovah's Witness or used to be and can answer that question, is there ways to get around the shit? I mean, obviously you can eat cupcakes. You just can't eat the cupcakes when they're celebrating something, I guess. So that was just something I always wanted to ask him, but I didn't want him to get mad at me.
What's funny is that's not unusual. That's in Christianity too.
That they can't eat cupcakes that are in celebration or something?
You can't eat any meat or any kind of food that was used as an offering to a Roman god or anything other than a god, than your god. That's the same thing. You can't eat anything that's been sacrificed to a god. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Right. They're saying that cupcake was an offering to a non-Christian god, so you can't eat it.
So technically, if I just had a plain cupcake that didn't have a plastic bunny rabbit stuck in it, they could eat that.
Yeah.
Even if it was Easter, but I said, this isn't an Easter cupcake,
Yeah.
this is just a regular
It was never
cupcake.
offered to eat to Easter. It was never part of
That's
Easter.
what I figured.
Right.
I figured there had to be some kind of loophole. Because I said, what if I forgot it was Easter and I just brought cupcakes because I wanted cupcakes and I wanted you guys to have some? It's not celebration cupcakes. It's just
the Pauline material says both. It says shit like, you can't eat things sacrificed to other gods, unless, of course, you know that God isn't real. Then you can eat them. But if God finds out, he'll fucking kill you.
Do you want to risk that? No.
No, he says you can, but you can't.
Yeah.
You can't, but you can, but you can't. It says, so there's a lot of stuff like that in there.
So it's a good way, if you have like a Jehovah's Witness for a roommate, that's a good way to keep them from eating your shit, is you can just like
Offer
draw
it to something.
Well, yeah, you can draw like holiday shit on it. Like, look, I drew Jacqueline, it's for Halloween, you can't have it, sorry.
Right.
Ha 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 ha. just perfect. Oracle says that it's like I figured out why salamander, like why the white salamander letter, the Mormons. The church elders thought it was because a salamander was akin to a burning bush. Salamanders were often thought to be able to burn and not be consumed.
Ridiculous.
I wonder why. I wonder why a salamander in
Somebody
particular.
threw one in the fire, but it didn't burn.
And then it ran away. I was like,
Just
fuck
'cause
you,
it was
bitch.
slimy.
Because it was slimy and
just
wet.
sat there and just kind of shriveled up. Yeah.
Weird how these fucking stories get started, man. I just thought that white salamander thing, I'm like, that's so specific. I was like, there has to be a reason behind that. Mango says more rum, back in a bit. Yeah, I had to go get a new drink too. But yeah, that was, I don't know, that was just always something that kind of stuck with me. Because I, like I said, I grew up not real religious, and I didn't know a lot of kids that were religious. You didn't really see, it's really weird because you didn't really see a lot of real overtly religious kids. I mean, at least where I grew up, they didn't really talk about it, or they didn't. And the couple kids that we knew that were kind of like that, everyone thought they were weirdos. It wasn't that people in, because I went to a public school, it wasn't that the kids weren't religious, because I'm sure their families were, but no one really talked about it. It wasn't a big thing. I feel like that only became a thing later, because when I started reading about all the shit that like creationists were trying to pull, like trying to get their shit taught in like science classes and whatnot, and it seemed like you know, a lot of the controversy came from then, but I think that was later. That seemed later. At least where I went to school, it's just wasn't something that was brought up very much. Like no one really, like when we learned about evolution in school, nobody bitched. No one was like taken out of class or anything like that. Like because it's against my religion, nobody did that.
Yeah, well, I think those are issues from 40 years ago anyway.
But like I'm saying, that's when I was in school.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I feel like it, you know, it didn't happen when I was at school, and then I started hearing about it happening like later, like after I was already out of school. You know what I'm saying?
Religions don't faze me. I went to school with all different kinds of religions and stuff. You know what I mean? Like in different kinds of Christian religions. Mississippi's filled with fucking Pentecostal. Now it's kind of like our version of Mormons. I don't even know what they believe. They just fucking wear funny clothes.
Are they some of the ones that wear like the Little House on the Prairie stuff?
Yeah, Little House on the Prairie, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of ones do that. Yeah, because I feel like yeah, they wear like those long dresses and some type. Are they the ones with the bonnets, or who is that?
They don't wear bonnets. I think no, they didn't wear bonnets.
Is that more like a Quaker thing, or you know?
They could have cars, but all their clothes had to be homemade.
Man, who the hell's got time to do that? Well, I guess
the mama has
the mama has time.
Mama Bear makes all the clothes, and that's exactly what she looks like. And she almost always looks like a mama bear. Mama Bear, she got about 5-6 kids. Makes clothes for them all. They pray. Drive out in a car. Go to Walmart. Yeah.
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 Man, I'm really glad that I didn't end up like that, because I can't sew for shit. It's like all my kids would be walking around looking like fucking clowns with all the fucking shit I would sew for them.
Yeah.
They're like, look, I'm just going to drape a sheet over you like a toga, all right? It's like, I don't have time for this
collars
bullshit.
with the rounded edges. You know how they...
Yeah.
All little round, it couldn't be pointed. It had to be round. And their little House on the Prairie dresses and stuff. But, you know what I mean? I always thought it was just kind of charming. You know?
Yeah.
Because they're poor people, you know, and they're just some kind of religious people. I don't even know what they think. I don't even know what they believe.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you're going to be like a religious person, that's actually really nice. Just, you know,
I don't know,
you just believe what you want. Just don't try to force it on other people. That's all.
Trailing around all these little kids, and little kids just wide-eyed, you know, don't say anything. You know? Yeah.
Wow, they don't say anything?
Nope,
they don't have tantrums or anything?
Mm.
Because they know they'll get the whip when they get home if they're bad. They'll get the switch. Might
have been because they were girls.
Yeah, girls are quieter.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, not always. I mean, I've met some...
Women aren't... Maybe women aren't allowed to talk.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
They may not be allowed to... Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Right. They may not be allowed to talk unless they're talking to their dad or... to a family member or something, you know.
Because a lot of those real old...
Never see them talking.
Yeah, a lot of those kind of old timey religions that are still around are very like
can't talk to anybody outside their family,
and they don't like women aren't allowed to be preachers, or they have to do what their man says and what their dad says and then what their husband says, and they're not allowed to like talk out of turn or you'll get a slap. I do feel like there's still a lot of that shit going on. Do they do that in Mormonism too? I don't know if Mormons, I don't know if women are allowed to run shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they're allowed to be like elders or whatever the hell they call it.
They aren't in Jehovah's Witness. Women can't run anything.
That's what I thought. And so I think Mormons are the same, but it's like, you know, I don't know. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that Mormons were real patriarchal as well. Because I don't know. It just seems like a lot of those are. But we talk about that a lot on our cult shows. I feel like a lot of dudes. You don't see a lot of women starting cults. I know it's not zero, but I feel like a lot of men start cults just so they can sleep with a bunch of teenage girls or have a bunch of wives. That seems to be like at the bottom. And so they can just like tell everybody else what to do. Seems at bottom, that seems like the main...
I noticed that shit kind of...
motivation.
If you actually kind of read the history of cults that are like that, you know, and these are all cults if you ask me. I think Pentecost is a cult. All right, it's a Christian denomination, but all these denominations are cults. If you actually look at the evolution of what's going on, is you have a powerful preacher who's looking very charismatic and he kind of holds sway over an entire community of followers. And he starts ramping up his fucking celebrity, and he gets away with it. You know what I mean? So then eventually he goes, oh, by the way, God said that not only could I have my wife, I could have your wife too. That's how it goes.
Well, yeah.
All right.
Pretty much always.
Yeah, God says I could have your wife. So then he does it once. And then he goes, oh, you know what? God says I could have your wife too. And he gets another one.
I'll take it all, you bitches.
Yeah. And then like he goes, oh, you know what God just told me? He says I could have your daughter. And then after that, he goes, and God said, I can have your daughter too and your daughter also. So next thing you know, he's got 7 or 8 of them. Because,
all your women's are belong to me.
Right. Because you get away with it once, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah, see, give him an inch, and then take a mile.
And then he tries to make them, but it's always like your wife, another wife, a wife. Oh, and guess what? You know what? A daughter.
Well, yeah, because then all the wives are getting too old.
And then a daughter,
it's like,
right.
Man, these bitches are like pushing 28. We can't have that anymore. So now we need some daughters.
I think it's probably what happens is that the first wife you got, you're asking for the woman that you were already screwing.
Yeah.
You were probably already hitting that. And then he says, oh, you know what? God says that shit's cool. All right. So
God said that shit's cool.
Yeah, God said that shit's cool. So the chances are you were already hitting that. You know what I mean? That's why the woman didn't fight it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
she's like, well, we can't go against what God says.
You warmed the crowd up to this concept. So you did it again. All right. But then you start looking at these like 16, 17-year-old girls, right? You go, I'm going to hit that, but her dad fucking probably will, won't allow it. And you find one where you got some dirt over the dad. You know what I mean? The first one. See, it's always the first time.
Gotta get a foot in the door.
It's the first one. So he's got to probably have some over the dad, all right? And he goes for the daughter. He goes, okay, yeah. So he gets away with it. And if he gets away with it once, it's easier all the other times.
Yeah, because
it happened to the other guy.
Right. He's like, well, that guy allowed it, so it must be okay.
Yeah, it must be part of this religion. It's okay. God says it's all celestial shit. Celestial marriage. Yeah. Think about this shit for a while, for a second, right? You're stealing other people's wives and daughters, putting your dick in there, and then saying that shit's from heaven.
Yeah.
That's a fucking.
And people let you do it.
Yeah, that's a hell of a fucking con job right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really audacious.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed anybody gets away with it instead of like everybody just being like, fuck no.
I'm pretty sure though that the first move on a wife and the first move on a daughter is that there's leverage involved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
Right.
Because once you do it once, like you said, it's easier to get away with it again because everybody's like, oh, you've established a baseline at that point.
Yeah, you've established it, you've normalized it. But the first one wasn't normal because it was already a woman you were screwing, okay? And you had some leverage on the husband, so you took his wife.
Yeah.
Right? And that shit became sanctified. And after that shit was sanctified, you could now take anybody's wife.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know, the other followers didn't know the background. You know what I mean?
I find it fascinating how people are allowed to get away with the shit saying, well, God said this and that and the other. And I was like, isn't it funny how God always tells you like some shit that you wanted to do anyway?
Yeah.
But nobody really calls them out on it though.
Right.
Because I don't know. It's like what they think they're going to get like fucking struck by lightning. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, no, he just wanted to do that and he's using that.
Imagine if it was like, if it wasn't just like a woman. What if it was a big pile of cocaine? You put a big pile of cocaine in front of this guy, right? And he's going to rationalize it.
This is the Scarface religion.
Yeah, he's like, behold, before me sits a mountain of the powder, of that Peruvian powder, which is a sign, direct sign from heaven that God wants me to snort that cocaine.
I'm going to hoover this shit up.
If God didn't want me to snort this cocaine, it wouldn't be here. My eyes would not be falling upon it. That's how he justified fucking going after that woman, you know, that she walked by and a booty was fucking walking by like that and his eyes fell upon it. And then it's some scriptural
boing, 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 boing,
scripture came to mind and he goes, oh yeah, that's just from heaven. God's calling me. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's kind of the difference between people that do that kind of shit. It's like they see something they want to do and then they justify it by saying, well, God said it was okay.
Sure.
And then you get the people that are on the other end of the spectrum that just like think that God told them they couldn't do anything. So they like deny themselves and like whip themselves and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Canuck the Hunter says Tom wants to be a cult leader / boob doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's like the perfect job for you. I think we've come upon it.
I'm gonna be a boob appreciator.
He says the doctor's too much work.
It's too much work. Show them to me after they're done. And after about a month, 5 or 6 after they dropped and everything's fucking good. And I say, that's a good job. Put a star on it. Right. Who did those? You tell the doctor he did a fantastic job. Put another star on it.
He's gonna have like one of those little stickers, like you know what I mean. You know how they used to like put the little stickers like on the underwear, like the inspector, the underwear inspector. Yeah. It's like, yeah, these pass inspection. We stretched them out. I don't know why I just thought of this. I guess because you were talking about dudes taking other people's wives or whatever. Yeah. Every now and then when I remember, I go and read Dan Savage. I'm sure most people know who Dan Savage is, but he's kind of like a sex columnist. And the one that was in there today, oh my God, this one was like really something. So this guy wrote in and he was saying that he had this friend, who, like a male friend. He's like, he's not my best friend or anything, but he's just like a good friend. And the friend says to him, hey, do you think my wife is hot? And he's like, oh, this seems like a trick question. But he's like, yeah, your wife's hot. He's like, would you like to fuck my wife? And he's just like, again, trick question? Yeah, sure, that'd be cool.
That wouldn't be a trick for our
I know, but I'm just saying, well, it gets better. So he's like, so sure. So this guy had has a cuck fetish. Yeah. So he gets off on his wife banging other dudes. Yeah. Now the weird thing about this though is that he doesn't want to watch. He wants them to fuck, and then he wants to hear about it, but not from her. He wants to hear about it from the friend. And the guy is like, this is making me really uncomfortable because after
the dude doing it, he wants another friend to tell.
No. He wants the dude that did it. He wants him to call him later and tell him all about it.
He's jerking off here.
Yeah, and he's like, so he's like, I'm calling the dude on the phone, and he's like, and I'm talking to him about it, and he's like, and the dude is clearly beating off, and he's like, and it's making me really, really uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, what should I do? And Dan's like, well, I think even Dan didn't say this, but a couple of people in the comments said, why don't you just like, if you because obviously,
first of all, what'd she look like? That's
I don't know. Everyone said she was super hot, so I guess.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so
I'd give that dude a good phone replay, real good phone replay, so he'd invite me back. So,
well, the guy said he'd done it like 4 or 5 times, but he's like every single time.
Can happen now.
I have to call this guy afterward, and he's like jerking off on the phone while I'm trying to talk to him. He's like, and it's really like weird. He's like, because it's like he's my friend, but he's not that good a friend. You know what I'm saying? So some people in the comments were like, well, why don't you just like record yourself like talking about it and then like send it to him so then he can beat off at his leisure instead of beating off while he's on the phone with you. Yeah. I mean, that seems like a pretty good solution.
Why don't you just videotape and send him the videotape?
I don't know.
He doesn't want to see it.
I guess he doesn't want to see. He just likes hearing about it.
That's some weird shit.
That's a very specific. Because, like I said, a cuck fetish, that's pretty common.
I don't think so. No.
I mean, it's more common than you would think, is what I meant. Oh. But apparently, because I thought a lot of like cuck fetish type people like wanted to watch it, but this guy doesn't want to watch it. He wants to hear about it, but he doesn't want to hear about it from his wife though. He wants to hear about it from the dude.
You know who kind of had that?
Who?
A little bit. Elvis.
Did he?
In a way. Elvis got to a point to where it was too much of an effort, and I think maybe he had fucking, once he started getting fat, he kind of had self-esteem issues or something. You know what I mean? Instead of going after these fans and screwing them, he would have his friends do it, and then come back and report to him
and then tell him about
how it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Elvis was so much the king, he'd have other dudes fuck women for him. That's the shit there,
and
man.
Go and report back.
You can report back. Tell the king what it was like. Oh, yeah. I understand.
Okay. I mean, that's not quite a cuck fetish because that's not... I mean, usually cuck
it's not your woman.
Yeah, it's not your wife or your girlfriend that you're sending out there to, like, fuck other dudes and then you watch it or hear about it.
That's some shit, man.
That's just, like, some women that he thought were hot that he's like, hey, tell me how that went.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Which, you know what I mean? That's not that... That's a lot less strange, I guess. Yeah. But I just thought it was, like, really funny that this guy had wrote in and being like... And
That's some weird
everybody's
shit.
like, why don't you just like record yourself talking about it and then send it to him, and then like so you don't.
We know
because
some wild ass couples though. That shit.
We do, yeah.
That would. We know this lawyer and her fucking boyfriend, who's kind of like an ex-con type dude, and they do all kinds of weird shit. They get these girlfriends that live with them, and they got teenage kids too. They're probably grown now.
Yeah, she's
But,
got to be 18
yeah.
or 19 or older.
It's just like weird shit going on, man. And then there's like they try to fucking get us to fucking do shit with them. It's the weird shit. They don't look too good. I'm like, nah.
They're always
Nah.
kind of on the make.
Yeah,
You
they're
know what
always
I mean?
on the make.
They're really nice.
They're
They're
funny
nice.
though.
They're really
They're
nice.
fucking funny.
Oracle said, "What did the wife think about this?" I'm not real sure. She seemed into it. Like she seemed to like fucking the friend of her husband, but I don't know how she felt about, he's like, "No, I don't want to hear it from you. I want to hear it from the other dude." Maybe she was just kind of like, "Oh, well, that's his thing. What are you going to do?" But that would be a little weird, like having a male friend of yours calling you and you telling him about fucking, and then like having him jerking off on the phone while you were talking to him. That I can understand how that'd be a little uncomfortable.
That'd be some weird shit.
That is pretty weird. I mean, I'm not shitting on anybody's like fetish. I know some people have that, but that does seem like a big ask, is all I'm saying. It just seems like a big ask to like, hey, can I beat off on the phone like while you're talking to? I don't know. It just seems really weird. If you've never read Dan Savage's column, people that write it, it's really entertaining.
Like a joint in the goths.
It is. It's very incestuous. Well, I guess because the goth scene is not real large in any given city. And so, after a time, like pretty much everybody ends up dating everybody else.
Yeah.
That's generally how that works out.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, I mean, at least here and most other places I've ever been, it seems like everybody, like I said, because they're not very big, so it's usually like maybe a couple hundred
It's
people.
not personal. It's just that's just what's going to happen when everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, and and when you get a group of people like that all have similar interests, I'm sure it happens in any subculture.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that with anything.
Yeah, because you
It's
see
like
all
in
the
churches
same
and shit too.
Well, yeah, you see all the same people,
Yeah.
Week to week, like, and you all hang out together because you all have similar interests. So, it's not that strange when you think about it.
Everybody's dated everybody.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. So, DJ Maniac said when I got to the point where I'd walk into a club and see 5 girls I fucked in a circle talking to each other, it was time to leave.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm just lucky they're not talking about you.
Well, maybe they were.
Might have been.
Maybe not, though. I mean, depending on how long ago it had been. I don't know. I feel like probably they weren't talking about that. But everybody, when everybody walks in the club, they always think everybody's talking about them, So what else you want to talk about?
I don't care. How long have we been on?
Hour and 38 minutes.
Okay.
So, not that long, really.
Not that long, but
considering.
kind of a slow night.
It is a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought we would talk more about the Mormons, but that didn't actually take as long as I thought.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't really want to ruin the miniseries for people that want to watch it. I mean, I kind of did because I said, hey, all this shit was a forgery and that dude blew himself up. Yeah. But as I said, he's a psycho, but you do have to like admire his commitment to his craft and also to the fact that he was willing to blow himself up. To take the heat off himself. Not a lot of criminals would do that. Not really saying that in an admiring way, but DJ Maniac says, you have any idea how hard it is to walk out of a room backwards in platform boots? Zach says, talk about Scientology more.
Talk about Scientology?
Oh my God. What was that shit you were telling me the other day about Tom Cruise? About how he said that he'd talked to all these world leaders and stuff?
Oh, yeah. No, they have a guy, or there's a real famous recording of Tom Cruise. And he's talking to other Scientologists. They've recorded this thing and they're going to show it to these other Scientologists. And of course, they're playing the Mission Impossible theme song in the background. Doon, 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 doon. He's going, yeah, because as a Scientologist, as a Scientologist, you must know. No, you like, and then the next thing you know, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, they had a Scientologist kind of, He's an expert in Scientology.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, he's kind of translating what fucking Tom is talking about. All right. There's a time where he says, and of course, you know, and all these world leaders, you know, and we go visit all these world leaders, and, you know, and I don't remember the exact wording, but it was very carefully worded to make it seem to a Scientologist who's listening to this. I didn't hear it at first. He said it, and it just rolled right over me like a wave of bullshit, because it just sounds like corporate jargon and bullshit. Just a sales
that's what
pitch.
a lot of their shit sounds
Just sounds like a fucking sales pitch, you know? So I wasn't really paying attention to what he said, but this guy was going back and doing it line by line and explaining what it is he's fucking talking about. And Tom Cruise led Scientologists who were listening to this to believe that, one, all of the world's leaders listen to Tom Cruise, okay? Because Tom Cruise uses Scientology to help the world leaders solve the world's problems.
Yep.
And that thereby, which indicates that Scientology rules the world.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
It's like a shadow.
And once he explained it that way, I went back. I was listening because, yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. Tom Cruise is saying, yes, I talk to the world leaders.
And I fix all the world's problems.
And I tell them what to do. Because I'm using Scientology, I tell them what to do. And they do what I say. All right? Which this means that Scientology rules the world. That's some shit there. That's exactly, and once he explained it to me, I said, yeah, that's what he's telling them.
Well, obviously they're not listening to his advice because, you know,
yeah,
shit's not being solved.
Well, just imagine Tom Cruise going to France, okay, and going up to the fucking president of France. I don't know if he's the prime minister or president. What's that dude's name?
I can't remember offhand.
Yeah. Telling him how to deal with the fucking yellow vest protests. Telling him how to deal with fucking, you know, the integration of Islam into society and all that kind of weird shit. You know, and because Tom Cruise knows Scientology, okay, he's able to do this. So they've told Scientologists that Scientology Incorporated, that it's kind of like the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That they're this religious organization that are basically the spiritual advisors to the world's leaders. Which it makes perfect sense now when you look at those Scientology buildings and the decorative motifs and fucking how many of them that they make, and it makes sense now. Once you see all that stuff, that that's that Scientologists do believe that. They think they're the fucking Jedi. They think they're the Jedi Order. You know what I mean? And that they're fucking...
That's so cute.
That they are the counselors for the fucking New Republic. You know what I mean? Like
they're all wise and shit.
Like out of fucking...
They're smarter than all of us.
Star Wars Episode 1 and 2. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Jar Jar Binks.
I imagine that what really happened was that Tom Cruise goes to all these world leaders' places and was like knocking. It's like, hey, can I come in and talk to you about Scientology? And they were like, no, go away.
Yeah.
The end. But he had to like make it seem like it was this really well. Like I said, he had like a real famous quote about, it was after, I don't even remember, was it after Katrina or something like that? It was after some really big disaster, and he was talking about how Scientologists, because they're the only ones trained in Scientology tech or whatever, that they were really like the only ones that could help people.
Yeah, the only ones that could help people in car accidents.
That's right. Yeah, because of my Scientology training, if I see a car accident, like in the way he said it implied that most people that most people wouldn't stop and help people that had been in a car accident, because most people would.
Yeah.
Not just Scientologists, most people would do that.
And that paramedics, they don't know what they're doing. Paramedics don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't know that whole
Scientologist to show up and to give a fucking touch assist.
And like, wave your fucking hands over do some fucking magic.
They got this thing called a touch assist where they fucking touch you on the back and and that fucking keeps your fucking your thetans or your fucking thetans fucking
or your chi or whatever
the fuck. Or some shit like that. It's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
I mean, I think that's one of the most attractive things for people about religion is because it makes everything like super easy.
Well, what's fucking funny is that they set up those goddamn fucking assistance tents outside of the fucking disaster zone in Katrina.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking.
They had people showing up. They didn't give them water or nothing. They just fucking lay them down and touch their backs. Give them a touch assist. And they're wearing these fucking orange fucking things and these fucking like doctor's smocks. And it says, what did it say? It said on the back, it says volunteer minister.
Yeah.
It says on the back. To make everything look all fucking
I'm
official.
telling you something right now.
Volunteer minister.
If I, Spock forbid I ever like fucking went through some horrible disaster like Katrina or something like that, and I'm fucking my house got blown away or whatever, I'm laying there in a ditch and I'm hurt and stuff. If I swear to God, if a fucking Scientologist comes over there and like tries, hey, I'm gonna give a touch assist instead of giving me water or a blanket or something like this, I'm gonna punch him right in the fucking taint. And I'm telling you that right now.
And they did that shit, and then they handed out leaflets and tried to get people to fucking join Scientology, pay for the communication course or something. But,
yeah, they're always on the grift, man.
But all that was so they could go in front of their big old fucking gaggle of fucking Scientology donors, their whales that give money to it, and go, see, and then we do David Miscavige. And in Katrina, we helped save 20,000 people with our touch assist. People that would have died otherwise.
If we hadn't come over and like
touch on their back. Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? Crazy.
Well, like I said, that's the nice thing about what's attractive to a certain kind of person. Like, why? Because it makes everything seem really easy and really achievable. Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, you don't have to learn like the hard shit, like to be a paramedic, like how to help people. All you have to do is just go touch people, and it's magic, and it fixes everything.
What's great about the touch assist is that it doesn't cost anything.
Exactly. It's like thoughts and prayers.
Like thoughts and prayers, yeah.
Right. It's just kind of like that's the way.
I'm helping you.
Yeah, it's a way to make yourself feel better while doing absolutely fuck all. Yeah. Pretty much. And it's kind of the same thing, at least. But I mean, Scientologists at least go to the place and like touch the people, even though they're not doing anything either. Right. What is it? Okay, so what do they just put the hand on the arm like that?
Yeah, and they're doing so. I guess you could say it's kind of like acupressure.
Okay.
But it's spiritual.
Like those. Like
I think acupuncture and acupressure are spiritual too. I think a lot of that Chinese medicine is crap.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's just they're making shit up.
Well, the thing about it is that a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but there are a significant portion of diseases and things like that where mind over matter is a factor. Yeah. So, if you think, the placebo effect is a thing. Yeah. If you don't have anything really serious, and you believe that it's going to work, then probably it will. I mean, like I said, obviously that's not the case if you have something actually physically really wrong with you. But believing something's going to work does go a long way toward like thinking it maybe will work. So maybe that kind of shit, like if you do a touch assist on another Scientologist, maybe they're like, oh, I feel awesome. You fixed everything that was wrong with my body just by touching me, Tom Cruise. But, for other people, probably most people would just get mad at you, especially if you had just been through a fucking disaster and were like laying there all fucked up and just wanted something to drink and a fucking snack and were cold and your house had been blown away and shit like that. And then you have some jackhole coming over, like just touching you and being like, look, I solved everything. Yeah. That would really, really, really make me angry. I would get so bad. I'm telling Tom Cruise right now, no, pull that shit on me. If I ever go through a disaster, I'm going to hit you. I don't play.
Amanda says she's drunk.
Well, it's St. Patrick's Day, so I guess, we would have drunk anyway, even if it wasn't St. Patrick's Day, but...
Stop propaganda says they're giving fucking tours in Clearwater, pissing Miscavige off. I know, I've been watching them.
Yeah, you were just telling me that, like, yesterday or the day before.
They're posting them fucking as they do it, and they have fucking Mike Render and fucking what's his name?
I kind of want to do that if it's not expensive.
Mike Render, who is it? Mike Render, that's the one with Leah Remini, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Render. He goes through it and fucking talking about They talk about each one of those buildings and fucking what those buildings are for. And Miscavige and Scientology, they just cleared out Clearwater. They just started buying buildings.
Yeah, there's like nothing
and
down
tearing shit down and put
it's
a
like
park there.
It's
and,
like a bunch of empty buildings and parks that like no one's kind of allowed to use them, really.
They didn't want wogs around. They didn't want fucking people who weren't Scientologists
Yeah,
around.
that's what they call non-scientists.
They call them wogs.
Which is bad because at least in the UK, that's like a racial slur.
Yeah. So what they do
or it used to be.
They just put up these damn buildings and buy everything, and then they don't do anything with it. So you go to the downtown area and they fucking tell you to leave.
Yeah.
You know, because they own everything. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, it's like, let's build like all these beautiful buildings and parks and stuff like that, and then nobody can
Well, they had
use them.
They had businesses. They had like diners and fucking restaurants and shit. They all went out of business.
I mean,
because it's like an island now.
I remember I lived in Clearwater for a little while in probably 2002, I think it was. Downtown Clearwater still had a few normal businesses down there. There was a bunch of, but there was still there was a bunch of stuff that was owned by Scientologists. It was still kind of normal, but from what I've seen lately, like, because we watched like the Leah Remini thing, and they went down there, it was like a year or two ago, and it looks like a fucking ghost town down there. And I mean, I don't know if it was just because they were just like hanging out in the park because they're like, hey, it's a public park, right? It's like, that's why they built it and it's downtown. And they were sitting there just like doing nothing and talking. And like cops came like within 2 minutes and told them that they had to leave. Now, I don't know if it's because they recognized who they were or because they had a camera or just because everybody that comes down there and said like, you're not allowed to.
No, they explained what happened. They saw Mike down there. And they had that restraining order on hand.
That's right.
They sent it down to one of those offices. Then that office called the cops, and the cops showed up. They gave the cops that order, and they said, "See this order? That guy right there, he's not allowed to be here."
Yeah.
So the cops went down there and says, "Yeah, you can't be here because of this." So they made it look like Scientology controls the police, but they don't. Those cops didn't know what the hell was going on until they saw that restraining order.
Yeah.
Then they enforced the restraining order, which is legal.
Yeah, because they're not allowed. And anybody that's an SP, they're not allowed to like be within a certain...
Scientology is a fascinating fucking cult. It's a fascinating situation. But it's not as interesting as it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was bigger. But they've lost so many people now. It's a dead religion. Now it's just a real estate scam. That's really all it is.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like there was a lot more going on. I mean, once you had all these high profile defections, Mike Rinder was what? He was like fucking
number 3.
Yeah, he was 4. Like the third dude in charge or whatever. Like him leaving, like a bunch of
shit out of each other in the boardrooms and stuff.
I still love that story.
Yeah.
I mean, just
these guys fucking beating the shit out of each other.
That's kind of ridiculous. It's like David Miscavige. He was this abusive little short man's disease.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they're all in this boardroom, and it's like, I guess it's okay for like David Miscavige to just go punch the shit out of people, and you're not supposed to like.
You can't fight back.
You can't fight back, even though he's like a little sawed off motherfucker.
Yeah, he weighs like $135.
I mean, seriously, that dude, I could pick that dude up and throw him. Come on now. It's like
he's the size of mini-me.
Yeah, he's like he's smaller than me. Yeah, so, I think. Yeah. So it's like I could probably just like punch him in it next week.
Didn't weigh nothing. Yeah.
But you just have to like sit there and take it.
Yeah.
You have to let David Miscavige beat the shit out of me.
They say he's very intimidating, when you're in the church, because he's kind of like the Pope. It's like the Pope beating your ass. Pope yelling at you, beating your ass, and fucking.
I wouldn't be intimidated by that. I'm like, shut up, old man.
And
go to bed.
Just because it's he was younger when he was doing all that. I don't even think he was 50 when he was beating up Mike.
No, I was talking about the Pope beating. So I was like, I wouldn't be intimidated by the Pope trying to beat me up either, because I'd be like, fuck off, old man.
What's funny is that Scientology, it claims to be a religious institution, which I guess it is. but it's also a corporation. It's selling spiritual technology is what they call it.
Sure.
But they have the fucking filthiest mouth is known to man. They say mostly what they do is just a long, endless stream of fucking racial slurs.
Thank you,
and
Victor.
Fucking all different kinds of epitaphs. They call each other faggot constantly. They're absolutely fucking cruel to each other. Scientologists don't play.
I think that it tends to attract, particularly in the higher echelons, it tends to attract a bunch of psychopaths.
Yeah.
Well, because I think it rewards psychopathy.
Yeah.
To a large degree. Not so much when LRH was still alive. He had other problems. But under Miscavige, for sure. Because I think that he kind of established, he's kind of a psychopath, so I think that kind of established the tone for everyone else, and everyone had to be like that.
I think a lot of it also was LRH was a fucking naval commander. So the Sea Organization, which is that's their version of the clergy, of the priesthood, was modeled after Navy.
Yeah.
It had a Navy flavor to it. It was kind of paramilitary.
Navy flavor.
Yeah. And old school paramilitary stuff, like when I was in the Army, it was a constant stream of fucking filth coming out of your mouth. Constant stream of filth. It was just the culture. And lots and lots of slurs. But it was mostly for fun because you're talking to friends. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not mean-spirited.
Well, it's not like you're going up to like a random stranger and
that.
like,
right.
It's calling them names. And so, because why would you do that, one, unless you're a total dickhead?
So I think it might have started out the same way with the Sea Org. But David Miscavige was fucking mean. So he took
he's a mean motherfucker.
He took that general motif of a paramilitary organization and ramped it way up. There's nothing paramilitary or military about David Miscavige. He's never been in the military. Although there are ex-military and ex-law enforcement guys in the Sea Org. But the guys that run it have never been in it. But, which I think was part of the attraction of why Tom Cruise went. Tom Cruise was just an actor. You know, I can say he's just an actor.
Yeah.
He made a job. He made an entire living, a very successful one, pretending to be fighter pilots and pretending to be this and that and pretending to be heroic. But he never had the chance of fucking going into the military or really be the kind of person that he pretends to be. You know, he couldn't do that. What, Tom Cruise going to join the fucking Army Rangers? It's just not going to happen. Well, Scientology gave that to him, gave him the opportunity of some training and discipline and being in a part of a military style organization. It's not military as like the real military, but it has a lot of elements of that. So in a way, I think, and like I said, I don't like talking shit about Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, you know what I mean? I actually respect his game. And I think when it came to Scientology, Tom Cruise probably got the best possible Scientology experience a person could ever get, because they really bent over backwards.
Oh yeah, they kiss his ass big time.
Doing all kinds of shit for Tom. All right. Tom, as an actor, does a lot of shit that other actors wouldn't do. He really can fly aircraft and helicopters. He can ride he can ride motorcycles. He can shoot guns. He's pretty good. So he's not a fake. He really does have some skills, but he is an actor.
Yeah.
You know, he's an actor. He's an artist. Scientology gave him, I think, personal credibility.
Yeah, that he felt like he was lacking.
Which
is dumb, because it's just kind of like...
He could have done it without it. Keanu Reeves did. Keanu Reeves is a fucking badass.
I mean, there's nothing...
That dude could shoot, man. That dude could shoot.
And well, the thing about it is, like, there's nothing, inherently bad about being an actor. It's like, it's just another job like any other job. It's one that you're good at. It's like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. That's not enough for Tom, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's his issue.
Right.
That's not an issue with acting in general.
Well, a lot of actors are losers. So I understand where he's coming from. A lot of actors are just losers. He wanted to be more than that, which he had a lot of ambitions. And I think Scientology gave him a lot of ambition. We're going to make you a world star, but you're a secret agent. You're actually going to be a world leader. That's what they were fucking trying.
You're going to tell all the world leaders.
You're going to tell the world
do.
leaders how to act.
You're going to Tom Cruise runs the world.
Yeah. Now when he's telling them that, in that, I can see that he doesn't believe that, but he's trying to get other Scientologists to believe that.
Yeah. Did you say thank you to Victor for that? And did you see that? He said
Jenny, that's a badass
shirt. I haven't worn this in a really long time. Somebody else asked about it too, like Stop Prop said, where'd you get that shirt? I got it a long time ago at a horror convention, and I can't remember what the name of the booth was. But they had all their merchandise was all like HP Lovecraft themed shirts, and they were all like HP Lovecraft like liquor labels. So I got this one, and I got the other one, like the Dunwich one, like the brown one that I wear sometimes. But yeah, I got both of these. But I just haven't worn this one in a really long time for whatever reason, because I think I forgot. It was like hanging in a different part of my closet, and I forgot it was in there. So I just saw it today.
Victor said that Tom Cruise is a power bottom. That'd be funny.
I could see that.
That'd be fucking funny if Tom Cruise jumping off that bike, fucking landing down on a big old fire hydrant style dick, just ass first, just hitting and go and just like
on Miss Gabbage's dick.
Like that, yeah. He's doing the whole thing. He's twerking. Twerking on a big old fucking.
Thanks. I really wanted to picture Tom Cruise twerking.
Tom Cruise twerking.
Thanks for that.
All oiled up and twerking.
God damn it.
Like Cardi B. Yeah.
And also you just made me fucking picture Tom Cruise and David Miscavige both oiled up and twerking.
Yeah.
Like butt to butt. So again, thanks for that. I didn't really do that. And hey, and I like gay porn, okay? But it's just kind of like,
funny as shit.
Fuck, man, not those two. Shit. We're gonna get in such trouble. Yeah. We're gonna somebody's gonna sue us. David Miscavige is gonna come beat us up, or he's gonna try to beat us up. He's gonna knock on the bottom of the door because he's so small, and then he's gonna open the door and he's gonna what?
Zach jumping. I can imagine people want to see Tom Cruise twerking.
I'm sure there are. I'm not among them, but I don't know. I can't really think of anybody. I don't know if I'd really want to see anybody twerking. It's not a real flattering. It's not a good look. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
That's just you.
I don't know. Well, no, I don't know. I don't know. I just can't really think of anybody right now that I.
We gotta teach you how to twerk. We'll put that shit on put that shit on the show.
It's not that hard.
Okay.
I mean, twerking. It's not like something that really has to be taught, I feel like.
I think it does. That looks like a complicated dance move, Jenny.
I feel like it's really not. Amanda says, I typically only day drink on holidays, but, Stop Prop says it's hard to find Lovecraft shirts. It is kind of, even the ones that I've seen, because some people make them on Etsy and stuff like that, but a lot of them are not that cool. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like a lot of them I didn't really like the designs. That's why I liked this particular. I wish I could remember because it was probably like 10 years ago that I found it. But it was just like a booth that was at, the horror convention that we went to. What the fuck's the name of it? I can't remember. But it used to be called Screamfest when I went a long time ago. And like I said, it's probably 10 or 11 years at this point. But there was a whole booth there, and they had like a whole bunch of shirts, and they had a whole line of these, and most of them were really cool. So it was like really, really hard for me to like just pick two out. But
I got that pizza dough going, right?
Do you?
Yeah. I figure I'd put that stone inside the damn grill outside, and fucking do pizza outside on the grill.
Outside pizza.
Yeah.
What, tonight or tomorrow?
Tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, you want one?
Yeah, later. What time?
I got sauce and everything. It's almost 7.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I got sauce and everything. I'll even do. I know you don't like pizza. I'll have to slice up some of that Georgia sausage and put on there. Sound good? Oh no, I got mushrooms.
Yeah, can I have one with just like mushrooms and peppers? I don't need meat on it.
Yeah, okay, I can do that.
Because like I said, a lot of time I like those sausages, but heartburn.
Okay. There's no spice in that sausage.
I know, but I still get heartburn from
Can't understand.
sausagey kind of meat.
Okay.
Well, don't take it up with my digestive system. I don't know what to tell you. I don't like it either.
I can't
understand. But Bridget says, "Hey guys, can you still make the old shirts? It was one of your older designs. Some of them we still have. We still have the screens for most of them, I think.
I don't know what. It depends on what she wants.
Yeah, it depends on which one. The
little picture of me and Jenny, I have that one still.
Yeah, I think the only one that we don't have a screen for still is the Friday the 13th looking one.
Yeah.
But I still have the artwork for that, so I could burn another screen if I really needed to. Because actually, I kind of like that shirt. I wouldn't find another one. Because I have one, and it's kind of worn out. But I think we cannibalized that screen.
It's almost time to do another batch of those. Got to mail them out.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I sent one out to Xanada. Because he sent me some money like on one of the last streams. So I sent him a shirt out the other day. So hopefully he would have got it. I don't know if he would have got it by now. It was going to Vegas. But yeah, Bridget said it was one of the girls' ones. Yeah, if you let me know which one it is, like we have most of the screens, like I said. I think the Friday the 13th one, I don't have that screen anymore, but I could burn another screen for it if I had to.
She said it was one of the girl. What girl?
One of the girl.
There's one with Jenny on it, with me and Jenny.
Yeah.
Little bitty one. The girl was Jenny.
I can't even remember like
girl with the boobs.
the girl with the boobs.
Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she says she's trying to find it.
Okay.
So we'll figure it out because I don't even remember like all the ones we've done over the years because I have some that I made for Zazzle. Yeah, she says you had it in your older promo, so it actually might be. Maybe it's a Zazzle one then. I don't really know because we only started.
Yeah, we had some Zazzle ones.
We had some. Well, I still have them. I still have them up there. Those ones are like full color, but the ones because we only started doing the screen printed ones fairly recently, and those are usually just one color. They're white. You look like you're wandering off and fading and.
Yeah, we've been doing the show for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, a little over 2 hours. I think
Yeah.
2 hours and 7 minutes. Wait, you ready to like?
I'm about ready.
You ready to call it a night?
I'm ready to call it a night.
Poor Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
About ready to call it a night.
Yeah. Should I just looked on Zazzle? I didn't see it. If you can like let me know which one it was, I'll find it for you and we'll figure it out. Zach says the girl with the giant boobs by Stieg Larsson. The girl with the dragon tattoo. Yeah, that'll be the 4th book in the series. Or actually, they did one, didn't they? Because we saw like the girl in the spider's web. Didn't we see it? We saw it at the theater, right?
No, which one?
Yeah. The girl in the spider's web. When that Stieg Larsson's dead, isn't he? The author. Victor says, "How's the Friday night slot working out? I haven't been able to make it so far. It seems to be working good. We get most of the same people turning up, and it's been kind of nice having Saturday nights free. We went out to Mannequins." Not this past Saturday, but the one before that. This past Saturday, we actually didn't go out because we went out Monday night instead, because Monday night was our monthly goth night, Memento Mori. And I was like, man, I don't want to go out Saturday night and Monday night too. It's like my liver will never forgive me. Yeah, Stop Prop says, go make Jenny some pizza, Tom.
Yeah, I will.
I would, honestly, peppers would be good, but even if it's just mushroom is good too.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm not a big fan of real meaty pizzas. I like
just mushroom is easier.
Yeah. Just mushroom would actually be fine.
Okay.
I had totally forgot that you had bought mushrooms at the...
Yeah, got a bunch of them I gotta use up.
Fuck yeah, man. Put a bunch of mushrooms on there. Yeah, Victor says I'm going to literally set an alarm so I can try to catch it. Yeah, it's kind of fun for us to do on Friday night. I was kind of worried about moving it because I thought everyone would be like, oh shit, now we can't watch it. But it seemed like most of the same people turned up. And we started an hour later, like 6 p.m. So people could kind of get home from work and do whatever, like when we were watching it, but it seems to be working out okay, That's all.
What's that?
He's just like, what? He doesn't care anymore.
No.
All right,
okay.
So he's not even talking.
I'm not even here, no.
Nope. What's your opinion?
I gotta do.
Zach says, what's your opinion of Hawaiian pizza, though?
I love it.
I actually love Hawaiian pizza. It's not my favorite, but I know a lot of people have really, really strong feelings about it. But
They have strong feelings about.
well, some people really, really think pineapple does not belong on pizza.
Oh,
I like it. It's like I said, it's not my favorite, but if somebody says, "Hey, you want a Hawaiian pizza?" I'm not gonna say no. Fuck that.
you can put anything on pizza.
Pretty
You should
much.
see the fucking crap they're putting on Japanese pizza. Fucking octopus ink instead of fucking tomato sauce. Just crazy shit. You know what I mean? Put a little bit of pineapple on there, a little bit of sweetness to kind of offset the saltiness of ham.
Of the ham, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it works really well,
Yeah.
is because it's a sweet and salty
Yeah.
kind of thing. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's the same kind of shit that, well, they have that in Hawaii a lot, too, where you
Yeah.
have, like, this spicy ham sandwich with a pineapple on there because it's a nice combo.
It's Yankees that are scared of that kind of shit. Don't worry about them.
You know what?
It's Yankees.
You know what's really weird? When I was in the
Yeah.
UK, I saw some frozen pizzas in the grocery store, and they had corn kernels on there.
Yeah, not good.
And I thought that was pretty weird.
Yeah,
Um,
South America.
But ever since that, it's apparently it's a big thing in Japan too.
Yeah, I've
like
seen
they put kernel
South-
corn on there.
South Americans also put fucking green peas on there. They're just crazy.
Oh, why would you do that?
Great. And
I mean-
chickpeas. Just fucking crazy.
Like I said, it's, you know, whatever. It's just kind of like whatever's kind of around.
I'm not saying don't do it, but if you think putting pineapple on pizza is fucking crazy, then you just haven't been around. You know.
Yeah, because some places they put some really weird shit on pizza. But yeah, I don't have a problem with pineapple on pizza, not at all. All right, so we're gonna go make a pizza
Yeah.
on the grill, and we will be back on Friday night. We're gonna talk about the disappearance of the Solder children. A very mysterious case happened back in the 1940s. I wrote about it in my book, and it's kind of like a well-known mystery. But that was one everybody voted for this week, so that's what we're going to be talking about on Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we will see you guys then, and as always, thank you for dropping by. Thank you everybody that donated, and we'll see you on Friday evening. Bye.